everybody, and welcome to episode 113 of the TV Knitting Podcast. My name is Sharon, and I am your host. I am also known as Stitch Mistress pretty much everywhere on the internet. So, welcome. It is May 22nd, I believe, 2016. And yeah, I'm here to talk with you about what I've been knitting, what I've been spinning, maybe a little something new. So let's get to it, shall we? So before I do any of that, let me do introductions. So I have two new people that introduce themselves in my group. The first is Lil Bird Blue, Joni from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Welcome, Joni. And I also have Laura O'Donnell, Laura from Westchester, PA. Welcome, Laura. And yeah, I hope you gals are enjoying the show and everyone else. I've had some great feedback this week and every week. So things are going well. So I am currently hosting a Knitalong in the TV Knitting podcast on Ravelry, and this week I was able to procure prizes at my LYS. So I promised you that I would look for a needle set, and I found a very nice one. This is the Knitter's Pride Dreams needle set, and it goes from sizes 4 to size 11. There are 9 knitting needle tips and 4 cords, 24-inch, 32-inch, and a 40-inch. And the cords all have different colors, which I think is amazing. And the needles themselves also are in different colors. This is a fabulous set, guys. And she has it marked at $98. So this is a lovely prize for you guys. And so all you need to do to be eligible is to participate in the Knitalong. And the Knitalong is super, super easy. You can pretty much sell anything that you're knitting right now into the Knitalong. You can double dip, so if you're knitting for Stash Dash, fine. If you're knitting for other Knitalongs, pretty much everything counts. The only rule that I have is that when you post your finished object, and this will be for finished objects, this prize is for finished objects. When you post your finished objects, please post a short story about what you're knitting and just describe, tell a little story about, why you picked the project, where you got the yarn. Pretty much anything goes. So it's a really easy knit-along for you to participate with. And so far, I have some finished objects already posted. There is also a chatter thread, and I will have prizes in the chatter thread as well. So let me show you some of the other prizes that I picked out. Some of these will be for finished objects, and some of them will be for the chatter. So she has some opal yarn. I thought this was a really pretty color. And it's 467 yards, opal 1437, denim white yellow. I don't know what series this is. It's one of the artist series, but it doesn't really say in English on here, so I'm not really sure. But it's super pretty. I may have to get one of these for myself at some point. I have never knit with opal yarn, and I would like to. So this is one prize. Pretty much the prettiest yarn that my LYS has in fingering weight for shawls, and you can also knit socks out of it, is Ella Ray Merino lace. It's not a lace weight, it is a fingering weight. And the first one I have here is Ella Lace 211 Brown Orange. That's an exciting color. Color name. But look how pretty! This is just a beautiful color. It's coppers and browns and tans, and it's lovely. It would make lovely socks or a lovely shawl. 460 yards, and it's beautiful. I love knitting with this yarn. It has a nice high twist, so if you're not too hard on your socks, it would be great socks, and it makes a gorgeous shawl. Next up, I thought this was very pretty. This is like a grello color. It's like a yellowy gray color, and I just thought it was super pretty. I may have to get a skein of this for myself because I'm kind of obsessed with the grello lately. And this is Lace Merino Multi. Color 128, and yeah, it's a grello. Very pretty. And the third color I got was quite a variegated skein. I thought it was gorgeous. Bam! So many different colors. This would make a really pretty Martina Bem shawl or gorgeous socks. Pick your poison. And oh, it's just beautiful. Teals and this beautiful green that I'm obsessed with. I love that acid green. And oh, it's got all the colors. Oranges, rusts. It's just beautiful. Kind of a southwest color scheme. So yeah, so those 4 prizes are what I've picked out so far. If I see anything else pretty, I will get that. I'll also be giving away some patterns in that giveaway. And yeah, so we'll see what we should see. So I will be giving out prizes both for the chatter thread and for the finished objects thread. So, and you can join in anytime. There's no set start date. The end date is July 4th because I am coming home from vacation just before then, and I will shut the thread then and draw winners the following week. So good luck, everybody. It's super fun. I've been jumping in and chatting with people, loving the stories that people are telling. And yeah, we'll see if, depending on how many people join this knit along, I may get more prizes. If not, I'll just stick with what I have. So join in. It's super fun. Okay, with all of that out of the way, I would like to then now talk about what I have been working on. So I've switched up my knitting a little bit, and I've been concentrating on my socks and also my lace shawl. And I really didn't work on my blanket at all this week because I'm focusing on finishing up socks. So I want to try and get a pair done a month because of Kristen's box of socks knit along, and so far I'm almost there. So I'll explain that to you. So I finished a sock. This is Desert Vista Dye Works, and the colorway is Eau Clark, and I love the sock. It's beautiful, very sparkly. Toe up, 30 stitches per needle, so 60 stitches, which, I don't know. I range between 60 and 64 stitches, but I don't like my socks too tight, so I may go back to 64. We'll see. So let's talk about ease of socks, shall we? I'm not a big fan of too tight a sock or socks that really squeeze my feet and have a lot of ease. So again, depending on the yarn and the needles I'm using, I range between 60 and 64 stitches around. So I think these are going to be okay once they're washed. But again, I like my socks with 0 ease, or maybe just slightly less than 0 ease, meaning they just kind of comfortably fit my foot. I don't like it when I have to work to pull them on. Anyway, some people are different. Some people love like really tight socks and really, negative ease. I do not. So anyway, toe up, I did a fish lips kiss heel. And what I did, I just kept knitting with the yarn and did the fish lips kiss heel, and then I broke the yarn so I wouldn't disturb the striping on the foot, and then started with the color that would continue the striping. So I have an extra end to weave in the inside. So see, not a big deal at all. So, fish lips kiss heel, continue up the cuff. I like a 6-inch cuff, no more, no less. And I did Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, which works great for me. So, yeah, that's that sock. Cast on the second sock this week, right after I finish the first sock, and I'm making some nice progress. I am hoping to finish these by the end of May, and it's going well. I knit on these. We went to the movies the other night. Went to the movies yesterday, and I knit on these in the movies. We saw The Jungle Book. I would highly recommend The Jungle Book, especially if you like special effects. This movie fascinated me because of that. I think it's a brilliant piece of filmmaking, and I still can't figure out how they did it. I'm going to have to get some sort of special DVD and watch that, because it was amazing what they did with this film. The animals look so real for the most part, and it's just a good storyline, great action balanced with good character development, and it's fun for all ages. It's a really, really good movie. And my husband, my son, and I went, and my husband loved it as well. So there were even parts where he gets really startled when there's jump scares in a movie, and if he had popcorn, he would have spilled it all over. Because there was a couple parts in the movie that there was some startling moments, and that's just a sign of a good movie. It had great humor, cool songs. The pace of the story was great. I never was bored, because sometimes I'll be sitting in the movie looking at my watch. So, excellent. Highly recommend. And we are going actually to Disney, my husband and I, for our 25th wedding anniversary in June, at the end of June. And I know they have a show, a Jungle Book show at Animal Kingdom. There's a lot of Animal Kingdom things going on. And we're staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge. So it was a great movie to get us excited about that trip. So yeah, we're starting to get really excited and we're really anticipating that trip. So that's coming up for us. Anyway, so I knit on this sock during the movie and I didn't make any mistakes. So when I do moving knitting, I obviously can't see what I'm doing. So I do it entirely by feel, and I always do magic loop because it's the easiest. And knitting the stitches across isn't an issue for me. Where I find that I usually make mistakes is at the edge. So I really consciously felt that last stitch to make sure that I was catching it, and I did great. There's no laddering, no mistakes, no drop stitches. So I actually, when I go to the movies and I knit on socks, I actually bring an emergency sock with me in case I mess up on the first sock. So I bring a second sock with me. And I worked on this a little bit before I got into the movie, but the other one was going so well that I didn't have to knit on this one. So this is my Gals Art sock blank sock. And I'm almost finished with this sock as well. And this is the sock blank it came from. You guys haven't seen this one in a while. Beautiful sock blank by Gals Art. And this is the sock that it's producing. Fish Lips Kiss Heel, my favorite. This is a single sock blank, so I can't knit two at a time, which is fine. Because I found when I knit those other socks, I got a lot of tangling. So, single sock blank. And it's going quite well. Anyway, I didn't have to pull out my emergency sock because my Desert Fits the Diet Work sock was fine during the movies. And I got quite a bit done. It was 2 hours of knitting. And I don't go fast, when I'm in the movie because I'm feeling my way. Okay, so the reason that I really don't have a lot of projects to show you this week is because of this blob. This project is Mystic Star by Anna Dalby. And it's a beautiful pie shawl. And I started it 2 weeks ago. And it's going relatively well, although I did make a boo-boo the other night. And it was a bad one. And what had happened was I really want to finish this project. I think I was showing you the wrong side. This is the right side. I really want to finish this project before we go away. And so I've really pretty much only been working on this and the socks. Because the socks are my car knitting. Any other time of knitting, I'm working on this. So that means I pretty much put aside everything else that I've been working on. I put aside my big old coat sweater. I put aside my sock yarn blanket. And I'm working on this during my break at work at lunch. And I'm working on it in the evening. And it was going great, and the other night, I got a lot of progress on it. I was really, really happy. Pretty much halfway through chart C, halfway through chart C, and I was sitting in my easy chair, got up to make myself a cup of tea, came back, and the stitches in one of the repeats, the repeat I was working on, had fallen off the needles and dropped way down. So I'm fairly good at fixing lace, dropping down and fixing it, but this wasn't going well. So I just decided to rip it back. I ripped it back 6 rows. And I actually have some footage of it. And if it comes out okay, I will put it at the end. You could see me ripping out. I don't mind ripping out, but when you have these teeny tiny little lace stitches, it gets a little dicey. And I wasn't sure I was going to be able to really pick these up very well, but it actually went well. It took me a really long time to fix it, and I lost a lot of momentum. I'm pretty much now back where I was, but it took me the whole weekend. So I don't know if you can see, but I put in a lifeline, and I will be putting in a lifeline every 10 rows. If you could see that blue crochet cotton that's in there. And I'm going to be putting in a lifeline every 10 rows because I don't want to do that again. So those of you who don't know what a lifeline is, basically what it is, it's a piece of thin yarn, ideally the same thickness or maybe a little thinner than what you're working with. And you put it on a tapestry needle and you just string it through all of the stitches on your needle, and then just you let it hang. So on a circular project, I can kind of tie them together, if you can see that. And it just keeps your stitches suspended on this line. So if you make a mistake and you will have to rip out, you just rip back to that line, and then your stitches are all hanging on that yarn, and you can easily pick them up rather than ripping back, picking them up, and risking them dropping down even farther. That's what I was worried about when I fixed this the other day. But luckily that didn't happen, and I was able to pick them up. Otherwise I would have had to go all the way down, and that would have been very disheartening. Anyway, but now I'm safe, especially after I finish chart C. These stitches will double. And over 500 stitches, ripping them back and trying to pick them up, I don't even think I have the stamina for that. Maybe I do, but crazy. So, lifelines. Lifelines are your friend if you're knitting lace. So, this is part of my crazy when I knit. I want to finish this by June, by the end of June. So I counted up the amount of knitting days that I have, and I figured out how many rows I would have to knit each day. So if you can see here, for chart C, I'm up to where the green post-it is, and I'd like to finish this by Wednesday or Thursday, and then this crazy chart, chart D, is the last chart, and there's 71 rows in this chart, which means I will have to knit 4 rows a day, which is doable, but it's over 500 stitches per row. So yeah, I'm going to have to hustle to get this done. But it's doable. And this is pretty much what you're going to be seeing the next 4 weeks. Hopefully I won't have any more mishaps. We'll see. But I love knitting this. I love it. I am having so much fun aside from the ripping. It's just addicting. I love charts. Some tips on knitting a chart. What I do is I blow it up, and then I have a printer at home that I can blow it up nicely. And then I use highlighter tape, and I just move up the highlighter tape as I go. And I'll be knitting, that row right above the highlighter tape as I go. And yeah, and sometimes like I had numbered just to kind of check. I numbered the chart and it's going fine. And another thing I do is when I have a chart like this, when there's lots of blank spaces of stockinette, I write down the number that I have to knit rather than having to count. So here I had to knit 10 before I started the yarn overs and things. So I have 10, 9, 8. So I know how many to knit, so I don't have to count every time I start a new row. And that's very helpful. That speeds up things quite a bit. So it's going well. It's going very well, aside from the little mishap the other night. So what I'm doing to prevent the mishap from happening again, and it's sitting in my lap in danger of having another mishap, so I'm going to do it right now. I have these little knitting point protectors. I'm not even sure what they're called. I will link to them in the section below on YouTube. In the description section, I will post a link to these. And I actually ordered I ordered another one because what you do, it's just a tube and it has a plastic end on it with a groove in it with an opening. And so you take your needles, you put them, and you've seen this on other podcasts. You put them in this tube, slide it down, and it's not going anywhere. So I'm consciously, every time I put this down, I'm putting this tube on so these don't jump off the needles, because I'm using metal needles, which I love, but they're slippery, and this is a silk blend and slippery yarn, slippery needles, disaster. So hence one of these is a lifesaver. And again, I will link it in the show notes. You can buy them on Etsy. They come in all different colors. They're about $8 each, which is worth it. Even though I've been doing a lot of knitting on that lace project, I have not neglected my spinning, and I am really excited about it. So if you see this lovely giant Hansen bobbin, you can see that it is all purple. And if you watch past episodes, you would have seen that underneath this purple is other colors like orange and yellow. But not now. It's all purple all the time. I only have 16 grams left to go. This basket was full a few weeks ago, and now 16 grams. So I am very excited about that. I should finish this week, And then I can start applying, which is awesome. So speaking of spinning, I had a question on my group thread, TV Knitting Podcast group, in the Ask the Stitch Mistress thread. And it's a spinning question, and it was asked by Peasant House. And to summarize her question, she had just started spinning again after an absence from it. And after the singles seemed okay, but after plying them, it seemed very overspun. And even when she washed it, it was still curly. So her question to me was, what did she do wrong? So my answer to you, Peasant House, is that you can actually fix your skein. And in the response on Ask the Stitch, in my response in the thread, I actually linked to a blog, and this blog is by Patsy Z, the Hand Spinning Guru, and I'll actually link to it in the description box on YouTube as well. And she has a blog at spinningguru.blogspot.com. And so let me back up here for those of you who aren't familiar with spinning, and I'll try to explain twists and how it works when you're plying yarn. So when you spin a single on a bobbin, most of the time people ply that unless they're intentionally spinning a single's yarn. So this will be plied. And so when I spun this, the traditional way of spinning on a wheel or on a spindle is to spin with what they call Z twist. And that, for the most part, is on most wheels with your wheel turning toward the right. So when you treadle, your wheel's going to turn toward the right. You can do it the other way, but most people, that's just how it's done. There's no wrong way. Like if you want to spin S twist going the other way, that's fine too. And some people do that depending on how they knit. Anyway, so but most people spin Z twist with the wheel going toward the right. So now these singles have lots and lots of energy, as you can see. They're twisting back on themselves. So a lot of times people then ply it with another set of spun singles. And when you ply, you're going to ply in the opposite direction. So your wheel will be turning toward the left. That is called S twist. So in the poster's case, she seemed to think that she over twisted it when she plied it S, I assume. And what you can do to rectify that, you can fix it. What you're going to do is you're going to rewash your skein and let it dry almost all the way, so it will be damp. And then you're going to hang your skein on your hand, and you're going to look at it. Now, this is a skein of my hand spun, and as you can see, it's balanced. So this loop is hanging straight. If it was unbalanced, the loop might do this. Okay, it might twist like that, or it might twist like this. So, if your loop twists to the right, what you're going to do is you are going to run it back through your wheel and add more. You're going to take out the Okay, so if it twists toward the right, that means you have too much plying twist. So you're going to put this, run it back through your wheel, and you're going to let the wheel go toward the right. So you're going to put in more Z twist, like what you originally did with your singles. You're just going to add a little bit more twist to take out the plying twist. If this skein is twisting to the left, you are then going to run it through your wheel and have your wheel turning to the left. So that means your original singles were overspun. So you're going to take out that type of twist. So that's what I would suggest you do with your skein, and you can fix it. And she even said that there's curly cues in the yarn, and that's from over twisting. So that's how you can fix mistakes. You can always run your project back through your wheel to correct. And I've done that. And it works. I hope that answers your question. Again, I will link to this article in the description box below on YouTube. Okay, so each week what I've been doing is I've been showcasing a knitting project from the past, and I'm talking about it a little bit. So I'm going to talk about this one today. And I'm actually going to probably frog this. This was a mystery shawl that I knit, I want to say 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And it was actually a Knitalong when I was doing an audio podcast. It was a summer mystery shawl. Okay, so the project was the Summer Solstice Mystery Shawl Cal in 2012. So that was 4 years ago, by Wendy Johnson. And the yarn was the Sanguine Griffin Skinny Bugga. So Sanguine Griffin no longer is in the dyeing business. But yeah, I don't like the shape of this at all. And it's not Wendy Johnson's fault. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the rectangle, like I said. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart and use the yarn for something else, because yeah, it's just not, I don't know. It's kind of hangs weird and I don't care for it at all. So don't be afraid to rip out past projects, especially if you have beautiful yarn that you can no longer get. I can knit this into something else that will be gorgeous and that I will love. I thought this was going to be a short show today, so I had brought something else up here to talk about, and it's not a short show, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So I have been dabbling in cooking, and specifically, I have been cooking from Food and Wine magazine. So on weekends, my husband and I, we love good food, like gourmet food, and we frequent some nice restaurants in our area. And I said, well, I could cook a lot of this stuff at home. So I had gotten my husband a subscription to Food and Wine magazine like 3 years ago, and he's made some things from it, and I just wasn't into cooking at the time, so I didn't really make that much from it. But I decided to try my hand at cooking, and I am really enjoying it. I mean, I'm a good cook, but I just wanted to expand my skill set a bit. So I resubscribed to Food and Wine magazine, and I went through back issues to find recipes, specifically recipes for fish, because my husband loves fish and I love fish as well. And I thought that we would have it on Friday and Saturdays, and I would really find some new and different recipes. So what I did was I got kind of fancy, and I got a notebook, and I did a little DIY. I cut the heading out and pasted it literally on here, and I have a notebook full of recipes. And I actually kind of took a page out of what a lot of people do for knitting patterns, and I put them all into plastic protectors. And this works out awesome because when I go to cook, I can just take these out of this notebook and lay it on the stove right next to where I'm working, and it's not going to get covered with grease or schmutz or whatever I'm working with. So I'm loving it. I actually made this recipe last night. It was fantastic. Crisp salmon with sesame, cumin, eggplant, panzanella. Wonderful recipe. My husband loves all of these ingredients, as do I. And my son even loved it too because it had, some Middle Eastern spice to it, and we all really enjoy that. So that's pretty much what I've been doing a lot of on weekends, and why I've been so busy, because then shopping for all these ingredients, whatnot. But my kitchen is really coming together as far as being organized. And I redid my spice cabinet, which needed to be redone, and it looks beautiful. I organize it all alphabetically, so now I just open it up and there it is. It's awesome. I purchased a food processor, which I never really had one before, but a lot of these recipes call for things to be processed, chopped up. And I got one on Amazon. I got a Cuisinart for a pretty good price, and I love it. So my point being, I'd like to start vlogging a bit, and I was wondering if you guys would be interested in a Friday night cooking bar time vlog. And I have some ideas in my head. Back when I did an audio podcast, my husband and I did a segment called Bar Time, where we'd sit at our bar and have cocktails and just talk. So I know some of you have asked me if we were going to do that on the video podcast, and I thought vlogging would be a good way to showcase that. So yeah, I just had this little idea. Let me know what you guys think, and I may go forward with it when I have more time, when I have some vacation time coming up. So with that, I will let you guys go. It has been a pleasure talking to you today. I hope you guys have a great week. Like I said, pretty much all the links for everything that I have talked about today will be in the description box down below on YouTube. Leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already. That would be amazing. And happy knitting. Cheers. I'm playing around. Why? It's fun.
No, it's not. Fun for you, baby.
People People do this all the time.
Do they?
Mm-hmm.
That's why they get in accidents.
No, I'm not driving.
Oh, I am.
Well-
What was if I want to go?
Stop. You're so bad.